Welcome to Synchronize Swatches, your twice monthly dose of coolness. I'm your host, Chris Gregory.
And I'm the other guy, Chip Johnson.
Every other week, we watch an episode of cult classic 90s sitcom Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and then we record ourselves talking about it.
It's time for Operation Record the Podcast. Are you ready?
Giddy up.
That's a good Kramer.
Gentlemen, synchronize swatches. Not a problem.
I've never liked you, Lewis.
Not a problem.
Eat now?
Clean out your locker, you're finished.
When do you recall getting the internet for the first time? Because I remember having it, you know, I lived in Germany until 1995, and I mean, it existed, but we didn't have access to the internet at our house till like maybe 1996. So the idea of a show that ended in 1993 having an internet presence while it was alive is mind-blowing to me, you know, that far back. When do you remember people having the internet?
Yeah, I would say mid-90s, early to mid-90s. For us, I think, you know, we definitely started with AOL, with the dial-up modem, you know, over the phone line. And you know, I think my dad ended up getting a second line so that we could have, you know, so we wouldn't be tying up the phone line.
Second line.
Yeah, the second line. So we wouldn't be tying up the phone line. You could still get calls and be on the internet. But we definitely started with AOL. And maybe we didn't have a second line in the beginning, and we'd have to log on, and the phone would just be tied up. Yeah. But I want to say that was probably I want to say it was high school. Like I was probably a freshman or sophomore when my dad back in the day, man, he was pretty up on technology and stuff. Like early on, I mean, I was probably like 3 or 4, and he had a video camera, like the ones that you still had to plug into the VCR, you know, to record. And, you know, the ones you'd pan past a light bulb, and it would just burn into the light bulb would burn into the image for a while, and it would slowly fade. Like primitive video cameras. He had those early on, and Dawn was commenting about this the other day, that there's a lot of pictures and video of my sister and I growing up, which now is normal because everybody's shooting their kids on their phones, and you have tons of footage. But like comparative to her upbringing, she's like, there's so many videos and photos of you and Kelly growing up. Yeah. And I was like, because my dad had tons of cameras. He's always shooting. He was just, that was him. And like, you know, he got a Commodore 64 when it first came out. And like, so at least at that time period, he was always kind of on the cutting edge of technology. So I know he got the internet for us pretty early on. Yeah. But it would have been like freshman. I want to say a freshman in high school. Okay. So that would have been around the time of this show wrapping up. What would that have been, like 92, 93? Yeah. I remember having a Commodore 64 as well, you know, because, you know, you have that, and it had like 1,000 games on 1,000 floppy disks or whatever. And then the deal in our house when I was like, I want to say maybe like 4th grade or 3rd grade was, okay, so you can keep the Commodore with the 50,000 games you have, or we can buy a Nintendo. And it's like my brother and I, without even thinking about it, we're like, fuck the Commodore. Give me that Duck Hunt, you know? Yes. With like 4 games, you know, you had nothing, you know, because the games are so expensive. But it was like, that was the easiest decision ever. And you know, dude, I mean, I have nostalgia for the Commodore 64 now, but like at the time, it looked so archaic when you put it up against a Nintendo. Yeah, and, for sure. You know, all my friends had the NES, and I was just like, I'm playing on the fucking Commodore 64. Like, so when I got one late, like comparatively speaking to my friends. Yeah. When I finally got that NES, man, I was so stoked. Yeah. Fuck off, California games. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about the Commodore too, like the Nintendo, you put the cartridge in, you press the button, and you're playing. It's instantaneous. Right. Yeah. No code. You would have to type in code. You'd put the disc in. Yeah. You'd have to type in, you know, command line code, like comma 8, comma 1, you know, load star, comma 8, comma 1. And it would take like 5 minutes before the game would load in and you could play it. Mm-hmm. And then when you go to another screen, it would take 30 seconds to load the next screen. Like it was, comparative to like a cartridge-based game, it was just, oh my God, dude.
It's funny to look back on that, all obnoxious too. Like, it would take 30 seconds for this video game to load that somebody had this. It's a fucking, I don't know how to make a fucking video game now. I couldn't make fucking California games now, but I look back on it with such contempt. Like, it took forever to load. And God help you if the disc got a little scratched.
Oh, I know. Oh God. Yeah. Well, some of the worst stuff was when the game would be corrupt or something, and I'd be sitting there for minutes waiting for it to load.
Yeah.
And then after like 20 minutes, I'm like, I think something's wrong.
Yeah. You're like, you son of a bitch. You're wasting my time here.
Oh God.
I know a commercial break is a long time, but you've got to try and remember.
All right, let's dive into this show, man.
All right, cool.
So this is season 1, episode 10, Deja Dudes, or
Deja Dudes.
Deja Dudes,
or in German, Unternehmen Zeitbombe, which means Operation Time Bomb.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't remember what the literal translation was, but I made a note here that you can translate Unternehmen into it. Translates into like venture or operation or undertaking. So I think in this case, it's meant to be Operation Time Bomb because that makes no sense. So.
Original air date was November 4th, 1990. Director was Brian Spicer, and this is his 3rd episode directing this. Mm-hmm. He also directed Close But No Guitar and Saving Grace. Saving Grace being still one of my favorite episodes.
Absolutely, yeah.
This one's pretty good too.
Yeah.
One of the writers, or the writer of this episode, was Tom Straw. This is his 2nd episode writing, and he's actually got a cameo in this.
Oh, okay.
So in the reunion, once it's in full swing, and there's like the banquet going on or whatever, and Moose is up there talking, and they're all like coughing, Moose, like making fun of her.
Yeah.
There's a shot of like a couple guys at a table, and one of the guys is actually Tom Straw.
Oh,
the only reason I know this is because I actually watched the episode again last night with the commentary track. So I don't know if you've ever tried any of this with the commentary track. Not all of them have it, but the way I put it up on the server, it should have a secondary audio track that you can switch to.
Okay.
I don't know if you're watching it through, I guess you're watching it through Plex or whatever. You should be able to choose the commentary track.
Okay.
But they actually, they actually had Troy Slayton, Timothy Stack, Taj Johnson, and I can't remember the actress's name that plays Mrs. Lewis, but she was on there too.
Okay.
And it was just them talking about the show and filming that episode, and they pointed out Tom Straw, like, oh hey, that's the writer, Tom Straw.
You have any idea when those commentary tracks were recorded?
Probably 2009, 2010.
Right,
when the DVDs were first made. Yeah, I want to say it's 2009 because actually they were making a joke because it was class of 1970. This is 1990 now, so it's been 20 years. And then as they're talking about the commentary, they made a joke that it's like, oh, it's nearly 20 years from shooting this episode. So I think it was like 2009, 2010 sounded like. Yeah.
God, that must be rough.
Yeah. It's funny too, because Troy Slayton was like, because in this episode there's the older version of Jerry, so to speak. And he's like, God, I don't look like that now, do I, guys?
Jesus. Poor the guy who plays Gary.
Yeah. Oh God. But anyways, yeah. So writers Tom Straw had a cameo in the reunion hall there. He also wrote the episode Parker Lewis Must Lose, that was a good one too.
Yeah.
And this is my episode synopsis. As the 1970 class reunion approaches at Santo Domingo, Parker tries to get on Miss Musso's good side and avoid a stint at summer school by finding the perpetrator behind a 20-year-old prank. But when he discovers who was actually behind the stunt, he realizes the truth would put him in hot water with Musso. Things are further complicated when it's revealed that evidence of the crime is in a time capsule set to be opened at the reunion. Will Parker defuse the ticking time capsule time bomb, or will he end up road pizza? So we have our opening gag as usual, and under black we hear Shelley knocking on the front door. She asks Parker to let her in. We see the peephole. It's not exactly a peephole. It's like it was like a little door that you open.
Yeah.
That's, I guess you call it a peephole, but
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, it's like a little door instead of a peephole.
Yeah. So we see the little door open up. She says, "Come on, Parker. It's after 11." And the little door closes again, cut to black, and we get another credit. The door reopens, and Parker says, 11:15, Shelly, way after curfew. And we actually see Shelly kind of hopping up and down, trying to look in through the peephole.
Yeah, I just made a note that Maya Bruton looks really funny. Just like
hopping
her
up and
face
down,
popping into the shot over and over again.
Yeah, it's great. And then the little door opens again, and we see Shelly, and she says, "If Mom and Dad wake up, I'm grounded. Let me in." And Parker answers, "Oh, you're right, Shelly. Let's not wake them up." At which point he shuts the little door again.
Yeah, it was interesting that one just sort of ends without like a strong punchline. You know,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't need to. You know, they wrap it up at the end, but it's all the ones previously. You know, when they go, you know, when they end that little segment, there's always a punchline there. You know, this one's just like, you know, it just
there's always a little
you.
button to that mini scene, but there wasn't really, the button really comes at the very end.
Yeah, unless he slammed it. It was hard to tell if it was if it was meant to be like really loud or something. That was the only
Wake
thing I
his
could think
parents up.
of. But yeah, maybe, I don't know.
That's a good point. I guess I missed that, but that could have been the button. It's the fact he's actually trying to wake them up. So we cut to Santo Domingo hallway. We crane down from a banner that reads "Class of 1970 Class Reunion" to find Miss Musso barreling down the hall. And the score is so perfect here.
Yeah.
Because as she's barreling down the hall, it's like there's like guitar notes bending that like sync up with her scowling at people, and like she bursts through like two students, like, get out of her way.
Yeah.
And the score is just, it's so well done for this whole scene.
Yeah, and she is absolutely smoldering. I mean, she is just like furious, you know, and I just made a note of like the dismissiveness in her looks towards some of the other students. I mean, it's not even just like, I don't know, it's Miss Musso dialed up to 11. I mean, it's just she's so mad, you know.
Finally, she comes to a stop, and she's standing behind Parker Lewis, who turns around to face her. And we're really tight on him when he's just smiling dumbly at her.
Yeah, he's just like shaking his head around like a goofball. It's really funny.
It's so great. And Miss Musso's thumb shoots into frame with the requisite swoosh sound. And then we have a great gag. This is probably one of my favorite gags of the episode. And the camera starts to track backwards through the hallway with Parker and Miss Musso's thumb in tow. And it's moving with such speed that the wind is actually messing up Parker's do. And we're like careening around corners and skidding around everywhere.
Yeah, it was interesting because like I don't think it's a reference to it, but it reminded me of the video for Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. Was it stop motion? Like that section? How was that shot?
No, it's just sped up. It's just sped up.
Okay.
It kind of has that feel, I think, because it's probably sped up and they're chopping out sections.
Oh yeah.
Or chopping out certain frames at a time instead of just speeding it up like normal. There's a way you can speed up where you're actually just removing frames.
Okay.
Which would give it a little more of a stop motion effect, kind of a jittery effect.
Yeah.
So that maybe
that's the thing. It's like
Sledgehammer feel.
It's very surreal. It gives it like a very surreal feeling, you know.
Yeah, it's just a great shot. It's just great visual gags.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we skid to a stop in Miss Musso's office.
Parker Lewis, broken.
Caged.
Busted.
Phew. Who had the garlic bagel?
Your transcript shows an incomplete in botany.
Oh, I love it, love it, love it.
You see, Lewis, without this credit,
You can't be promoted.
Business as usual. Musso plays the overbearing principal and busts me for something trivial. I play the student victim and finesse my way out. Not a problem.
So, unless you want to stay back a year, you're going to summer school.
This literally deflates Parker, where as he hears that, he just kind of sinks down out of the shot. So anyways, we cut to the football field where Frank is overseeing two workers as they dig up the class of 1970 time capsule.
Yeah, this scene was strange. It felt dropped in a very strange place, especially with the voiceover of Parker saying, "Oh, they're unearthing the 1970 time capsule." Great, or whatever it is that he says. It just, it felt like something that was later on that they just dropped in here to introduce that idea earlier on in the episode, which is, it just felt a little awkward to me.
I agree because it's a very short scene, and it's like, and then we come back to it like I think after this very next scene. So like it's kind of, I think that, I don't know. It's something weird about the pacing of this sequence.
Yeah.
So because immediately, I mean, that was probably like a 5-second scene. Then we cut to Parker's room where Mikey tells Parker that they're going to find a way to beat summer school. And Jerry chimes in with he says, the summer school menu now includes grape Kool-Aid. And he's like so stoked about it. I don't know why, because I don't think Jerry's
He's a freshman. He's a freshman. He likes grape Kool-Aid still. Yeah.
To which Parker says the classic Jerry, don't help. And this is the first of many in this episode. Did you notice that?
Yeah. There were a few times. Because they do that to... Yeah, they do that to Gary later in the episode too. Which
they do. The old Jerry counterpart.
I just wanted to point out here that it's that Parker did not, in fact, burn his sheets as he claimed he was going to in the last episode when Shelly and Frank were on him. As soon as I saw those sharks, I was like, see, you can't burn those sheets.
I was gonna mention that too. Like, hey, burn those sheets. The shark comforter survived.
Yeah. His room looks really good too after its massive destruction in the previous episode too.
Yeah, he definitely cleaned up. So anyways, it's Mikey, Parker, and Jerry. They're just kind of hanging out on Parker's bed. And there's a knock on the door, and Parker's dad, Marty Lewis, says, "Hide the chicks, it's the old man." I just love it. I love Timothy Stack's delivery on that, man. Yeah. Oh God, it's so great. But yeah, Marty burst in wearing like a god-awful hairpiece.
I thought you guys might get a laugh out of seeing this.
Is that a hairpiece or did a cat die on my dad's head? Dad, where'd you dig up that thing?
The cedar closet. It's a picture of Musso from when we went to school together.
But it turns out he was actually talking about an old yearbook that he found in the cedar closet.
I made a note of just how straight Timothy Stack plays that scene when he's wearing the toupee. He never draws attention to it. Even when they start laughing, he thinks, he acts as though he doesn't have any idea what they're laughing at. He may not,
Yeah.
It's funny too, because it's like typical 80s sitcom toupee, It's just like you said, it's just like this mound on top of his head. So anyway, I just want to point out it's what sells the scene from his perspective. It's just how straight he played that,
Yeah. Timothy Stack is great, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's got this old yearbook and he shows them a picture of Musso from high school. And under her name, it actually says Special Obedience Helper. So that role has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Apparently. And Marty reflects on the great time that was 1970. The parties, the music, the Camaro Z28. And he's like wistfully, looking off in the distance, thinking about it. And Mikey bursts his bubble by saying, wasn't 1970 all about Nam, Kent State, racial tension?
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the background, Jerry and Parker just losing their shit. I mean, they're just like, they can barely contain themselves through the whole scene.
Just staring at the toupee.
Yeah. It's very cartoonish.
And all of a sudden we cut to the football field again.
Yep.
Where they finally unearthed the time capsule, which was apparently buried like 10 feet under for some reason. I mean, it's like way down there. When they cut to like the guy's down in the hole, past his head. And the worker says, "Found your time capsule, Mr. Lemmer." At which point Frank bites his clipboard in glee. Like,
yeah, he's so excited.
So excited. He's got this clipboard. He just bites it.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Like, I don't know what his motivation is, except maybe just to please Miss Musso. I guess that's it. He's just, that's where he gets his satisfaction from.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, he lives to be a lackey. So we cut to the hallway. Parker is musing how the whole summer school thing is just Musso trying to show him who's boss. So he decides if he can suck up to her, maybe he can get out of his horrible fate. And we have a montage of Parker trying to help / suck up to Miss Musso. He tries carrying her briefcase for her, but she resists him. And there's like this kind of back and forth. He's trying to pull it away from her so he can carry it for her. And in the end, we see that it's actually handcuffed to her wrist. God knows what's in that freaking briefcase.
Yeah.
And then we see a shot of Parker waxing and buffing Miss Musso's car. Then we see Miss Musso up on a ladder, putting up a banner, and Kubiak comes walking by, and of course he's got a sneeze, and his sneeze causes an earthquake, which of course shakes Miss Musso from the ladder. She falls off the ladder. Luckily, the best buds are there to catch her.
I felt like that was kind of a redirect too, because like when he approaches, I was certain he was just going to walk right into the ladder. You know?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then he just sneezes. And
Sneezes,
it
yeah.
still causes her to fall.
Oh man. And then we cut to Miss Musso's office, where Musso is trying to pick out shoes for the upcoming reunion.
Louis, I have never seen anyone brownie up with the energy, enthusiasm, and raw abandon you have so shamelessly exhibited.
Then you'll sign the release for my botany final?
Not a chance. A coupon like this you don't call in over Carnauba wax.
Groveler's rule number 1. Never try to talk to a woman while she's picking out shoes for her high school reunion.
I made a note here. It's kind of a transgressive attitude that Parker has towards women and their shoes. Come on, Parker, you can do better.
Yeah. It was
Although,
yeah,
she does have a lot of fucking shoes. So he's not wrong, but still.
yes.
No, Louis. I figure hanging something like this over your head is worth a good semester, maybe 2 of no headaches from you.
But Miss Musso...
I'm too busy to argue. 300 of my idiot classmates are coming here in a few days, and I want to look perfect for them.
So then we see Shelley walk in the door and gets a ton of popcorn dumped on her from a box overhead. And this is obviously a prank from the Best Buds.
Yeah, it's like the old classic bucket of water on the door gag or whatever. But I made a note that if you stop at 5 minutes and 21 seconds into the episode, that freeze frame of Shelley mid popcorn dump is a great shot. She looks hilarious. And I love that, like, after it, she doesn't even respond. She just stands there, gets creamed by popcorn, and then just doesn't really, I mean, she doesn't freak out. She doesn't scream or anything.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have time to, because Miss Musso's immediately running to her rescue. But
yeah.
just if you get a chance to look at that freeze frame, the look on Maya Bruton's face is funny.
But yeah, this is obviously, a prank that the Best Buds are pulling, because we see Mikey and Jerry hiding behind a plant, and they're not hiding very well at all. It's that same like flamingo potted plant thing, I think, in the office that's always there. And they're both just behind the plant, and like they're holding the rope that they pulled. But
Clearly guilty.
Clearly guilty. But Miss Musso sees us and flies off the handle. And we see Parker like over her shoulder, and he's like, you can tell that he's like, oh, this was totally a planned prank. But now that I'm in the situation I'm in, damn it, I wish this hadn't happened. Like you could totally see it on his face. So Miss Musso berates them, and you can tell as she's berating them that there's some deep personal trauma here.
Yeah.
And as she's berating them, we pull back, and we see that this scene is actually playing out on a TV screen, and we find ourselves in Parker Central, which is the secret hideout up above the gym that the Best Buds use as their HQ. I found this from the commentary too, that they call it Parker Central. That was
okay. That's good to know.
Now we have a name for it, Parker Central. But anyways, we see that this is a TV screen in Parker Central, and we're watching this whole Miss Musso tirade go down, and we see Parker and the Buds are watching. So they're obviously reviewing this tape that they'd filmed earlier. And on the tape, Jerry lets out his little eek, and real time Jerry that's watching is like, man, I hate it when I do that.
Yeah, that's such a great line. I love that. Took a note of that because he's just like, I hate when I do that.
Yeah. I just love it because it's just such a knee-jerk reaction of Jerry, and it's something he is aware of, and he just hates himself for it.
Yeah. I think it must be a looped cut of him doing that too, or Troy Slayton's perfect. He's really good at doing that because it's exactly the same every time.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell it was like
every
punched
time
in or what, but yeah. It's
I feel like it's got to be looped in because it seems so. But yeah, maybe he's just great at hitting that note.
Yeah, he just hates himself for it. I love that.
So Miss Musso explains that 20 years ago there was a girl at this school who was the victim of a horrible prank, and it scarred her to this day.
Yeah, and she says that she plans savage revenge against those who pranked her. Which is
savage revenge.
Savage revenge.
So this girl was, of course, Ms. Musso.
Right.
And she's vowed to get revenge on whoever did that to her. She walks out of frame. So we're still on the TV screen. She walks out of the frame, and we hear glass break. So I imagine that was her slamming her door. We never actually see it break, but we hear it break. So that that's our glass break of the episode. So at this point, Parker decides to find out the perpetrator of the prank in order to get out of summer school. And we cut to a close-up on microfiche. It is microfiche, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Which most people don't even probably don't even remember microfiche anymore.
That's old school searching, baby.
Yeah.
It's
It's an old school
Google.
Exactly. Well, it was Google before the internet. But anyway, so we cut to a screen that's clearly microfiche.
Got it, Mr. Lewis. May 12th, 1970.
Senior Grace Musso was the butt of an elaborate prank Friday when an unknown assailant showered her with 60 gallons of lime jello. Musso, student aide to Principal Howard Fine, was policing hemlines with a ruler when the sliming took place.
Oh, 60 gallons of jello.
So then we cut to a loudspeaker in the hallway. This is a common cut for the show. They always cut to like a loudspeaker and you hear an announcement. And we hear Miss Musso welcoming her old classmates who are returning to campus today. And we get a montage of old and new as we see the 1970s class students mingling with the current class. And there's some great juxtapositions here. In one vignette here, the ground starts to shake, Jurassic Park style, of course. So we know what this is, a portent of. It's Larry Kubiak. He enters frame with his big brown lunch bag.
And his really cool bow tie.
He's actually So he's actually kind of dressed up. I guess the current students had to get dressed up for the old students. I don't know. But stepping in next to Kubiak is Bronk. I think that's his name, right? Bronk?
I think so. Yeah, it was Bronk Adelson.
Bronk Adelson, who is played by
R.A. Mihailoff. I'm sorry, I fucked that up. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Mihailoff, who also performed as Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Okay.
Which, looking at him, and he's also in Pumpkinhead 2. He played Kris Kringle in a movie called My Name is Kris Kringle. And then he was also in a film called Slasher.com. So I think he's got he looks like the kind of guy that would play Leatherface. I mean, he's a big brute, Yeah.
He's kind of the 1970s counterpart to Kubiak. He's just a big monster of a guy. And he also has a large brown bag of food, which has Bronk written on it. And of course, it left out a letter and had to do the little carrot with the added letter, just like in Larry's bag.
Yeah.
So he's dumb too. But it's great though, because they stop in the hallway next to each other and they actually stop and sniff each other.
They're sniffing each other.
They're like sniffing each other and like sizing each other up, kind of circling around each other, kind of like two wolves would do or something, or two animals would do, like sizing each other up and sniffing each other before they move on. But at this point, again, there's another little weird break with this Limmer time capsule thing. So we have this little moment where Limmer comes down the hallway with his two workers carrying the time capsule, and he is on the way to the cafetorium where this will be open tonight at the reunion. But then we get a glimpse of Marty Lewis and his best buds. So these are like the counterparts to Parker and his team.
Yep.
And so we have Gary, who is the clear counterpart for Jerry. He's got a trench coat and everything.
Yep.
We have Vic, who is clearly the older Mikey. And they did a great job doing his hair up just like Mikey.
Oh, yeah. So Gary is actually performed by an actor named Gary Grossman, who was he was in Night Court for a few episodes.
Okay.
One of his roles was Shouting Man, and one of his roles on that show was Man in a Dryer. Just okay. Anyway, so he was also in The Wonder Years and Murphy Brown. He was also in the movie SFW. So that's the second person. Second guest.
We gotta start our bingo cards, man. We gotta.
Yeah, you're right. And put SFW. I wouldn't have thought we'd have to put SFW on there, but
it is now.
Yeah. So then, so that's Gary, and then Vic is played by David Morin, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he was on a lot of shows back in the 80s and 90s, like Dallas and Tales from the Crypt, Cheers, Matlock, Northern Exposure. He was actually in an episode of Dexter, which I think is probably pretty common, given, the connections between those shows. But
with Clyde Phillips and with Robert Lloyd Lewis. Yeah.
But he's still active as of last year. And as I mentioned earlier, I can't remember if it was on camera or not. There is a note that he took Rita Wilson to the prom. So.
That's great.
Yeah, it's on his Wikipedia page. So.
Yeah, great little piece of trivia.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Marty's best buds.
We were inseparable. We were rowdies. We were
The Mod Squad.
Later, dudes.
So the elder buds do their secret handshake and bid Parker and the buds later, dudes.
Yeah. I made a note of that as well, just because his delivery of later dudes is just so cringy. It's like a perfect encapsulation of what a dad would say in that situation.
Yes.
You know?
So after they leave, Jerry remarks, "It must be hell to get old." Yes, Jerry. Yes, it is.
Indeed.
It is hell to get old. So we cut to the actual reunion. This is in the cafetorium, I guess. Miss Musso is greeting people as Lemmer gets the time capsule in place under a countdown clock.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that Miss Musso's dress in this scene is an absolute choice. I mean, it is something else.
Yes, it is. It is like super late 80s, early 90s, poofy.
Yeah.
Freaking gaudy
prom dance dress or something. Yeah.
Yes.
She pulls it off. I mean, she looks really good in it, but it's just like, wow.
Yeah, it is. It's something else, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's greeting people. Lemmer's getting the time capsule in place. There's a big countdown clock, which is a great little, visual addition, because we actually get this like a ticking clock, the literal ticking clock for this plot here. So then we see Parker and the best buds they're up in some kind of loft area overlooking the cafetorium. I don't know what that is, but there's some grating there. And you see that, the best buds, they have headsets on with microphones. I don't know who they'd be talking to because they're all right there. But but they're perched up there with all this gear. They're using binoculars, and then Parker's got the kind of that parabolic disc, thing you use to eavesdrop on people. Yeah. A little microphone with the little radar dish on it. He's used that before. I think he was using in Operation Kubiak or whatever to eavesdrop on the college scouts or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, they're up there trying to eavesdrop on people to find out who slimed Musso. And Miss Musso takes the stage and announces that the time capsule will be opened after dinner.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was before that. I think it was before that shot. There's you see Kubiak with server's
yes
plate. What the fuck is that called? I don't know what those things are called.
Yeah, server's platter.
Like a waiter, like three plates on it, and he's eating food like while he's carrying. My first thought was like, who the fuck assigned him to serve food? Like, why would you do that?
Horrible. Yeah, it was a horrible choice.
he downs so much fucking food in this episode.
Yeah.
Over the course of it, like food and then like stuff that's not actually food.
Yeah.
But that's like the most egregious. Him just like slapping his face over there, like working over the plate. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's like mashed potatoes and something else, but like he dips over and he actually gets a mashed potato like all over his face when he does it too. It's so ridiculous.
Just gnawing at it like an animal.
But then we see Marty, Vic, and Gary sitting at a table, and they're talking about planting Eric Duffy's appendix in the time capsule.
You really did that? You put Duffy's appendix in the time capsule?
Oh yeah, when he snuck in the tape.
Tape? Yeah, the tape, Marty. The cassette we made Raz and Musso after we lime jelloed her.
That tape's in there? You mean tonight Musso's gonna find out we're the ones who did it?
Wow. Your own dad, Slime Musso. He's road pizza.
Excuse me for pointing this out, sir, but wouldn't that make you road pizza too? Sir?
Road pizza's roadkill, right?
Yeah, it's roadkill.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's what
it's just a very 90s.
Yeah.
Very late 80s, very early 90s way of saying roadkill. Road pizza. I think it had probably like a 5-year lifespan.
1989 to 1994, right when the show was on.
Exactly. Road pizza. And Parker, he nearly passes out when he realizes this, and we cut to commercial. So back from commercial, we see the countdown clock above the time capsule, and we hear Miss Musso accusing Bronk Adelson of the Jell-O prank. as Parker and the Best Buds spy on the scene. Because they're kind of like in the wings of the stage and she's just off stage or something.
Yeah.
Then we see Marty and his Best Buds talking about getting the cassette out of the time capsule. It seemed like a good idea at the time to put it in there, but they realize now they need to get it out.
Yeah.
So Parker and the Buds try to approach the time capsule, but they're stopped by Kubiak. He is Lemmer's guard dog for the time capsule.
It's just another instance of somebody slamming straight into Kubiak because they're not looking where they're going.
Yeah.
And Parker turns and he's just like right into Kubiak's chest.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kubiak's in his Musso enforcer persona in this episode, like in the gag dance. No, the close but no guitar episode. You know.
Yeah.
They're keeping him in the cage at the dance.
Yes.
He's basically fulfilling that same role here.
Yeah, he's the guard dog. He's the bouncer. So obviously they're not going to be able to get to the time capsule because of Kubiak. So we cut to the locker room. I guess this is the boys' locker room. And the Best Buds are brainstorming what to do. Mikey suggests that they ask his dad. If he was cool enough to slime Musso back then, maybe he has an idea of how to get into the time capsule.
Did Mikey actually say cool and my dad in the same breath? Well, maybe he was cool once, but... No go, Mikey. Times change. Dad and his pals got lucky, but that was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us. Gentlemen, synchronize swatches. It's Operation Time Bomb.
So they leave, and we dolly over one row of lockers, and we find the Mod Squad. And Marty and his pals have been listening in on Parker. And Marty admits that Parker is so much smarter than he was when he was Parker's age. He says he can't tell him that, though, because he's a teenager, and it would go to his head. Teenagers.
Yeah.
So at this point, we see Parker and the Buds eavesdropping on that conversation because they've now moved one more row of lockers over.
Yeah.
Vic actually says, well, he's way ahead of you now, but I wouldn't leave it up to him to get to the capsule. So they're both somewhat, complimentary of each other's teams, but they also say we've got to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So Marty then says, synchronize Bullovas. It's Operation Time Warp.
Synchronize Bullovas made me laugh out loud. That was so goddamn funny. Just whip out their damn old man watches.
Yes.
That's great.
Oh, God. Synchronize Bullovas.
Synchronize Bullovas.
It's Operation Time Warp. I like how they have their own operation, too.
Yeah.
Slight variation. So then both sets of Best Buds head out. It's actually kind of a cool shot because, like, the way we're looking down the rows of lockers, they both teams just kind of take off down, downstage, I guess you'd say. It's pretty cool way that they blocked out that scene. I like that scene. So then we cut backstage where Kubiak is guarding the time capsule, and Frank is watching him as he tries to catch a fly. Kubiak is trying to catch a fly with his mouth, and Frank's. The look on Frank's face.
Yeah. Total contempt.
Do what?
It's total contempt. He's just like,
It's like, I've got nothing better to do than watch this guy, this oaf, try to catch a fly in his mouth, but I'm just going to watch it.
Yeah. He starts shaking his head at some point. I was still laughing at the Bullovas thing. And then when they cut to that shot where Kubiak's just like,
yeah.
The way he acts that is so fucking funny.
It's so great.
I was like, I can't, man. I'm still laughing at Bullovas over here, and I got Kubiak on there like a fucking dog trying to catch a fly.
But there's actually a real fly like flying around. I mean, this is pre CGI or anything, and he actually catches it with his mouth and eats it. But and again, back on the commentary track, so Taj was in that commentary track, and he was talking about he remembers that scene. He's like, they had a little fly on a fishing rod. They were just bouncing it around in front of Abraham. He's like, I distinctly remember shooting this scene.
He looks genuinely impressed when he catches it too. Just like,
it's such a great little scene. But then we see Parker and the Buds in the wings of the stage. They are preparing to pull the plug in 30 seconds, and he hands Jerry like a big junction box. It's so that Jerry can pull the plug. I guess it's the junction box for the whole power of the cafetorium. I don't know, but for some reason it's movable. And Jerry can pull one plug and the whole power.
The whole cafetorium runs off of an extension cord.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, Jerry's in place with this junction box. And then in the other wings across the stage, we see Marty and the Mod Squad, and they are planning something too, but we don't know quite what. And so then Parker gets into place, and he starts the countdown, on his watch. He goes 11, 10, 9. But then the lights go out early, and he's like, what the? And under black, we hear him tell Mikey, all right, let's go. And the lights finally come back up, and Parker and Mikey arrive back at Jerry. Parker asks Jerry what happened. He's like, did you get an itchy trigger finger? But Jerry doesn't answer. And do you know what happened here? So was it that Jerry just was off and didn't pull it at the right time, or did something else happen?
I think that the Mod Squad.
Okay. But it wasn't clear because it wasn't like Jerry, because you would expect Jerry to be like, it wasn't me. Like I didn't do anything. Yeah. So there was no beat like that. So I was like, I'm not quite sure what happened because Jerry never answered. But anyway, so at this point, Parker realizes that no one has the tape. He thought Mikey had it. Mikey thought he had it. They look at Jerry. Jerry's like, I don't have it. So they realize no one has the tape, and the lights have already come back up. And then they look over to the time capsule, and it's gone. And it's being wheeled out on stage by Limmer and Kubiak, and Miss Musso is about to open it. So Miss Musso starts the countdown, and as the counter reaches 0, we hear this kind of like trumpet fanfare.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Which is actually the fanfare for the Columbia Television Distribution logo.
Which
is
I'm glad
at
you
the
put
end
that in there.
Yeah.
I wrote down, I was like, what is that? I've heard that a billion times. I don't know what the hell that is.
It's ingrained in my head because it's at the end of a lot of TV shows, probably at the end of this show too, back in the day, because it is the Columbia Television Distribution logo. Because the Columbia logo is a little different. It's got a different fanfare, but it's the one that's slapped on the end of all the stuff they distribute on TV. So there's tons of TV shows we grew up watching that have that stamp at the end with that fanfare. So it's like so ingrained in my head. And when I heard it, I was like, what is that? And it took me forever to figure it out. Like I did Shazam, and it just wouldn't find it because it's too short.
Yeah.
And then I was looking up like, all right, TV studio logos, fanfare. And I was going through tons of stuff, and I was driving nuts. I was trying MGM, I was trying Universal, and I was like going through all the fanfares, and it was driving me nuts, dude. Like I spent probably like an hour or two on this. And finally I was like, I don't know why I didn't think to do this before, but I looked it up on IMDb, and they actually have it in the IMDb entry.
Okay.
God damn it. I was like, it's Columbia. Why didn't I?
Yeah.
But I did look up Columbia, but when I Googled Columbia fanfare, it gives me the typical film one, the one
right.
The regular one. But this one is it was so ingrained in my juvenile brain that when I heard it, I was just like, God.
Yeah. I had the same reaction. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where, I know I've heard that a million times. I just don't know what it was from. But
yeah, it's slapped on the end of, after the credits roll, and you get those couple studio logos back in the day. But yeah, I mean, Columbia Television Distribution was the distributor for Parker Lewis too. So
okay.
That
explains it.
Yeah. So at this point, we hear the fanfare, and the counter has reached 0. And Parker says, I've achieved dead meatness. Continuing with the NES, NESS of coolness, dead meatness.
Yeah.
Gagness.
Yeah, that's right.
I've achieved gagness, aloneness. So Miss Musso has Kubiak open the capsule and she looks in and she says, it's empty. At which point Jerry then says very loudly and in a very awkward voice, I said, thank you, Lord.
Yes. That also made me laugh out loud because the look on his face, and they pan out real fast, and it's just like everybody's watching him. He's like, I said, thank you, Lord. Like a Southern preacher or something.
Yeah, Southern preacher. Exactly. And then everybody looks at him. Everybody stops and looks at him. And he's like, I missed my nap or something like that.
I missed my nap today.
So anyways, Miss Musso admits that she was only joking. Jimi Hendrix song starts to play. The Wind Cries Mary starts to play as she pulls out various items to people oohing and eyeing. Yeah, so she pulls out an Earth Day poster, and everybody's like, ooh, ah, and then she pulls out a newspaper that announces the break of the Beatles, and everybody's like, oh. And yeah, she pulls out a peace sign necklace, and Frank's in the background. The peace sign necklace is held up in the foreground of the shot, and Frank's back in the background, and a red light just lights up his face, and he's just like he's just terrified of the peace sign, like a vampire to a cross.
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course she pulls out Eric Duffy's appendix.
So gross.
Which I don't think I've ever seen an appendix. So
it's small, I know that much.
Yeah, but it was like this white thing floating in a jar. I'm like, that's got to be Eric Duffy's appendix. I don't know. Eventually, they get down to the last item. The tension is building, and then Miss Musso pulls out a big brown bag labeled Bronx Lunch. Again, missing the O or A, or I don't know how you. How do you think you spell Bronx? Because I think like in the credits, it was like BRONC, right?
Like Bronco, I think.
But on the like Bronco, that's what I thought. But then when I saw the lunch bag, it's like BRNK. Again, just
maybe he doesn't know how to spell his own fucking name. I don't know.
You left O out.
You missed one letter, and maybe he just doesn't know. I don't know.
It's a good sound. So anyways, Bronk comes up and takes the bag. He says, "I've been looking for this for a long time," and he walks off, presumably to eat it. And in the background, you actually see Kubiak sniffing the air, and then he heads off after Bronk.
Follows him backstage.
So everyone claps, and the Buds and the Mod Squad are happy. There has been no cassette pulled from the time capsule. And we cut to the hallway where Parker and his dad are walking.
Well, Park, I appreciate your trying to help anyway.
Not a problem. We're just lucky that tape wasn't in there.
Son, luck is the residue of design.
At which point he pulls the tape from his pocket. And Parker's surprised. He's like, how did you... And before he could finish his sentence, we see a pizza guy roll in with 60 pizzas on a hand truck.
60
pizzas on a hand truck. Yeah. And Marty pays the guy, pays him with some cash, and then he points him down the hallway to where Kubiak is seated waiting to eat these 60 pizzas. I mean, he's actually got a little table with the red and white checkered like Italian tablecloth, like you'd see at an Italian restaurant or pizza joint, and like a candle in a wine bottle. kind of.
Yeah, and he takes the slice out and takes a little bite and it's like smacking his lips, like, and then he just starts plowing into it.
Like a test taste, like you would sniff wine before you eat it. He did that with the pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so great.
Let it roll around his palate a little bit.
So Kubiak tears into these pizzas. We cut back to Marty, where Marty actually says, Marty Lewis can't lose.
Yeah, I was thinking, is that a good prequel series idea?
Yeah, I actually thought about that too, man. Set it like in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, you get somebody to play Marty Lewis, and he's actually cool then.
Yeah.
Well, there's something there. I thought about that at the exact same time, man. Like when he said that, I was like, oh man, there's something there, man. We got to pitch that. We got to get a hold of Lon Diamond and Clyde Phillips.
Got an idea for you. It's one of your ideas.
It's one of your ideas. We stole your idea. We're going to pitch it back to you.
You want to buy it? Buy the damn thing, please. Don't listen to the podcast. We already talked about it on there.
Yeah.
We're copywriting it, damn it.
Oh man, it would be. I'd love to work on a show like this, man. Like there's not really. I mean, this definitely like paved the way for some shows like probably Malcolm in the Middle and Scrubs and some more absurdist type comedies. But I guess there are some still out there. But I don't know, man. I'd love to work on a show like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, Marty Lewis can't lose. So Miss Musso comes up and she mentions that she didn't see much of Marty at the reunion.
Oh, I was with my buds, killing time.
My loss, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love Miss Musso's response to that too. It's so, I mean, she laughs, but she's just like, my loss, or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah,
I don't know. It just
starts off at her best. I mean, she's so good at that. Just kind of like begrudgingly, just kind of. I mean, again, like you said it one time, like just kind of just talking through your teeth, kind of. That's. I mean, she's just so good at that kind of stuff, man. It's just it's so
she's
good.
Intense.
So Miss Musso heads back towards her office, where as she opens the door, we see a ton of lime jello is up in a bucket or a box, and it is about to spill down on her. Parker sees this. He runs over, knocks her out of the way just in time, and the green jello comes crashing down. It's kind of, they have kind of an awkward moment there on the ground.
She freaks the fuck out. I mean, she's like she's
he tackles her. He tackles her.
Yeah, and she's freaking out. And then like as soon as it's done and he asks her if she's okay, she's like, "Get off of me." It's just funny how she is so opposed to showing any weakness ever.
Yes.
You know, that even this guy just saved her ass from a bunch of jello. She's like, I'm fine. Get the fuck off of me.
Yeah, so she's thankful to Parker, but begrudgingly, and she says, stop by in the morning. I think I have a paper, or stop by Monday morning. I think I have a paper to sign for you, which is the paper that will get him out of summer school, which is what he's been angling for this whole time. So she leaves, and we see Kubiak digging into the jello already.
Yeah.
And Parker says, "Didn't you just eat 60 pizzas?" To which Kubiak replies, "There's always room for jello."
There's always room for jello.
Oh, man. And Parker rejoins his dad. In VO, we realize that saving Musso from the jello was all staged by Parker, of course, and his best buds. So then in VO, Parker also tells us that he tries visualizing his dad back in high school.
Yeah, and it's set over like the hero march or whatever, slow motion of the I think it starts with the mod squad, and then it fades out, and Parker and the buds fade in. So we get like that visual juxtaposition of the two crews.
Yeah, kind of a passing of the torch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it echoes through time. And VO, Parker talks about, at first it was kind of hard to visualize dad back in high school, but he was probably pretty cool back then.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got a new respect for his dad.
Yeah.
After this. And then we have our reprise of the opening gag, which is kind of the button on that whole little opening scene we talked about. The little peephole door opens up, and we see a water bottle, and it squirts water right into the camera. And Shelley's laughing, and she says, "Take that, Parker." And we actually hear somebody go, "Ah," or something. But at this point, we hear Parker say, "You okay, Grandma? I think that was meant for me." Shelley gasps, and we cut to black.
What have you got to say for yourselves?
I like this one too. I thought, it's time capsule episodes are always kind of fun. I mean, I don't know how often time capsules are actually ever opened, but it seems like time capsules and quicksand are just all over fucking TV,
Yeah.
So,
time capsules and quicksand.
There's way more time capsules and quicksand on television than you ever encounter in real life.
Real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be the name of our next podcast.
Yeah.
Time capsules and quicksand.
I thought it was kind of strange that they had the class of the 1990 class there attending the 1970 reunion. That's kind of strange, but
yeah.
I did make a note that I forgot to mention at the time was I think this might be the first time we find out that Parker's mom's name is Judy, because there's that whole run in there about
I didn't put those in the beats, but there's a whole like kind of these beats that kind of come in and out of the reunion scene where nobody remembers who she is or something.
Yeah, people keep approaching her and misidentifying her as somebody else, and then that's how you find out her name is Judy.
Judy, yeah.
She's not involved in any of the Mod Squad actions. So.
No, yeah. So I kind of omitted those from the beats.
Yeah.
Sheet, but
these kind of episodes are always fun just to see, like, whenever you have like the main crew, and then you get to see the ones from back in the day, and if one of them is like the other guy's dad or something, that's always those are fun episodes, and there's a lot of strong performances in this one. So
totally, yeah.
Musso's intensity was was great.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good one.
On the next Synchronize Swatches, the next episode is Season 1, Episode 11, Radio Free Flamingo. Deep in the bowels of Santo Domingo, a secret has been lying dormant since the 1960s. Santo Domingo's own pirate radio station. When Parker, Jerry, and Mikey stumble across the hidden radio station, they feel like they must bring it back to life. The more Principal Musso that's weird, she's not usually called Principal Musso.
Yeah.
The more Principal Musso tries to shut down the station, the more the students listen, causing a major thorn in her side. As Parker and gang find out the amount of good the station has on the students, the more they feel they need to keep it going. That is, unless Grace and Frank Lemmer find a way to uncover the station's secret hiding spot. So that's a little awkward. A little clumsy.
Yeah, it was going good for a little while there, but then amount of good the station has on the students, the more.
That's a rough one. Causing amazing, Parker and gang find out the amount of good the station has on the students, the more they feel they need to keep it going. And then it makes it sound like Grace and Frank are married.
Yeah,
Grace and Frank Lemmer.
Grace and Frank Lemmer, that's true.
Because they don't refer to her as Grace at any point previously, so you don't know who the fuck that is.
Damn it, Anonymous.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They were right not to put their name on this.
So that's the next one, Radio Free Flamingo.
I haven't watched ahead yet, but I do remember this one from back in the day. This is a good one.
My brother's a dead man.
My friend Jerry said you guys were going to do something really neat today.
Fuck off, California Games.